Imagine a scenario where you are the only apple farmer in your neighborhood or in the whole district, and then you hear that there's a meeting that was convened without you being invited in that meeting, and most of your neighbors were invited in that meeting where they are discussing on how to achieve apples or to lower the cost of apples. That is the current situation that is happening to Congo. Last week, there was a meeting between African countries and South Korea discussing about how South Korea is going to be allowed by most of these African countries to access or to import rare earth metals, and particularly minerals that are involved in making the greener energy components, things like solar panels, wind vane, and particularly electric vehicles. So in the meeting, there was Tanzania. In the meeting, there was Rwanda and other countries like Kenya. And they were talking about rare earth metals like coltan. They were talking about rare earth metals like neodymium, right? They were talking of titanium, and they were talking about lithium and cobalt. Now, it turns out that the largest reserve of some of these minerals like neodymium and cobalt and coltan is found in Congo, and it's not found in any of most of those countries that were invited in that summit. For example, these are very insignificant amounts of this coltan found in Kenya, and the same happens to Rwanda. But South Korea is planning having a deal between Kenya and Rwanda to acquire cobalt, for example, and they also want to get coltan from Rwanda and Kenya. And they also want Kenya, Tanzania, and Ethiopia in this case to assure them that they might help them acquire or supply them with cobalt. But Congo was not in that meeting. And we know Congo is the only country in Africa that has massive reserve of cobalt on the whole continent. As a matter of fact, Ethiopia doesn't have a single mine that has cobalt. The same applies to Kenya. There's no cobalt in Kenya. Of course, there's titanium in Kenya, and there's, as I said, some kind of cobalt. Rather, there's some coltan in Kenya. Very tiny amount. And there's no coltan in Tanzania. There's no cobalt in Tanzania. But of course, Tanzania has gold, they have titanium, they have so many other minerals, but they don't have the ones that are used in making these electric vehicle batteries. The country that has them is Congo. And of course, we had Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has titanium, they have lithium, they also have cobalt. And they also have this neodymium, which is very rare. Now, I'm going to show you an article that shows that the largest, before I show you that article, is that the largest producer of neodymium, which is a very critical component or mineral that is used in electric vehicle. Without neodymium, lithium and phosphate in the battery will not react. You need neodymium to kind of separate the side where you have the lithium and the side where you have the phosphorus, so that the two can react to give you electricity in that vehicle. And China today produces 90% of all neodymium in the world. Now, as sanctions from the United States continue targeting both Russia and China, the US and its allies, that is South Korea, Japan, and European countries, have realized that they cannot compete with China if they don't have key minerals that make batteries. Because research has shown that for you to be able to push the price of electric vehicles down, you have to be able to push the price of batteries. Because 3/4 of what an electric vehicle is the battery. The cost of an electric vehicle is mostly battery. If you have a cheaper battery, then you can lower the cost of that electric vehicle, which is what China is doing. They are currently leading in electric vehicle manufacturing and export. They are responsible for more than half of the world's export of electric vehicles today, and more than 30% of electric vehicles being sold in Europe. So we have companies like BYD, which stands for Build Your Dreams, and they have certain cars like the BYD Seal that has become a hit in Norway, in Sweden, in Finland, in Germany, where you have car makers like Mercedes and Benz. Young people who prefer buying these cleaner, modern cars are buying the BYD Seal. It's a very beautiful car that is actually affordable. It's selling for less than 30,000 euros. 30,000 euros is an amount that a lot of people with a job can afford. You don't have to save for long to get 30,000 euros to have a very beautiful car like the BYD Seal, a car that covers 500 kilometers on a charge. And most people in those countries rarely actually drive that distance to work and back. Most of them actually, according to a certain research, they only drive less than 100 kilometers in a day. So they don't even need these cars that can travel for thousands of kilometers burning diesel. They just need an electric vehicle. And the Westerners are surprised and, scared that China is going to take over the whole electric vehicle market. So they are now rushing to look for these minerals that can lower the battery costs. And as I said, some of these minerals are lithium, found in Zimbabwe and Chile and Peru. Now, in Chile and Peru, they have an agreement with China, so it's a no-go zone for them. In Zimbabwe, the Western countries sanctioned Zimbabwe from 1997, 1998. So they can't get their hands on that lithium in Zimbabwe. So what they are trying to get their hands on is cobalt, which is found in Congo. They are trying to get their hands on neodymium, which is also found in the Congolese rivers. Most of it is found in Congo forest, and the trace amount was found to be in high amount or concentration in the waters of the Congo River. So that's the statistic I wanted to show you. So from this article, as you can see, some scientists came and collected waters from the Congo River from different locations of that river. So they went from the upstream of the river, picked a sample of the water, went to the midstream of the river, picked a sample of the water, and even went downstream near Kinshasa and picked a sample of that water. And when they went back to Europe and did the test to find out the amount of the type of minerals that you can be found, because all these water go through the soil of the Congo forest. So the easiest way to know the amount of minerals inside the Congo, you don't have to go digging in the forest. Just go pick the water of the rivers that come out of that forest and try to find the mineral traces in the water. So guess what they found? They found high amount of concentration of neodymium. It is dissolved neodymium, and also another rare metal called hafnium. They found it there in the water of Congo River. It's an article. It is published on the largest science archive called the ScienceDirect.com. That's where most of the science research papers are published, right? I've published some of mine there when I used to be a student in science back in the days. But what I'm trying to say is this. They did a research and found that China today is the largest producer of neodymium, but the largest reserve of neodymium was in the Congo River. It's just crazy. And most of this trace amount was found near the mouth of the Atlantic, of the Congo River as it enters the Atlantic Ocean. High amount of it. They even had a measure for it saying 4,000 p-mol per kilo. It's the highest they have ever seen, when the global average is usually 54 pmol, but in the water the concentration is 4,000. It's just crazy. So now there's even a video where the Rwandan president actually was given a platform to address this summit in Korea, as you can see from this video. And he's talking to the leaders of South Korea. The leaders, definitely also kind of the message went to the leaders of Japan. And he's kind of promising them that if you back me, there's a way I can get you these minerals from Congo. Now, people have accused me of always being biased towards Rwanda. People have always said that I'm more pro-Congolese. But look, this is something that is affecting us. Imagine a war in Congo. The number of refugees from Congo that will go to other countries in Africa, they are going to destabilize our region for generations. We are talking about 100 years.